morning, and I don't have any inside information.
The lady that did it, she got in there. I mean, she made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you, and the long wait is over as game one of the NBA Finals. Yeah, they're still playing NBA basketball. Game one of the Finals finally tips off in about 35 minutes. The Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. Some juicy storylines, man. Kyrie Irving returning to Boston. Boy, that city hates him. I'll be really interested to see the reception he gets tonight. Luka Doncic, maybe the best player in the game. His first finals. The Boston Celtics have been the best team all year. Can they cap it off? Porzingis back in the lineup for them. I like it. Dallas-Boston, game number one, tips off tonight at about 8:35 Eastern Time, a week after the conference finals ended. I know they scheduled these things out in advance, but good grief, to have an entire 7-day period between the conference finals and the NBA finals. A little much for my liking, but nevertheless, we're here, and we'll keep you updated once that game tips off. I do like Boston to win the series. I'm surprised, quite frankly, at how many people are picking Dallas. I think a lot of people are picking Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. They are two of the best players in the series, no doubt. To me, the best team, and the best team all year, has undoubtedly been the Boston Celtics. So that's the direction I'm going. So we'll talk some NBA. We'll talk a little Major League Baseball in the 9 o'clock hour. Most teams pass the 60-game mark. We are going to make the turn for the halfway point, the trade deadline, the All-Star break, about a month down the road. What's going on in Major League Baseball? The Braves have all sorts of injury problems. The Tampa Bay Rays keeping their head right above water, right about the 500 mark. Is any of it going to matter with the way the New York Yankees are playing and the Baltimore Orioles are playing? So we'll talk a little Major League Baseball. Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic comes up in the 9 o'clock hour. Our NFC East preview continues tonight. We have been to Washington. We have been to New York. Tonight, we will go to Philadelphia. Our guy up in Philly is Bo Wolf. All Philly, allphly.com. Bo has covered the Eagles for years. He does a YouTube show 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year, talking Philadelphia Eagle football. And we'll talk about the arrival of Saquon Barkley, the retirement of Jason Kelce. Is Nick Sirianni on the hot seat? And what about Jalen Hurts? Is he the guy we saw in 22, or is he the guy we saw towards the tail end last year? So our NFC East preview continues later on. Bo Wolf up in Philadelphia. Leon Searcy also joins me coming up here in less than 20 minutes. You hear him every day on Primetime. Former Pro Bowl offensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk Jaguar OTAs. We'll also talk about Leon's golf tournament that he's putting on 1 week from tomorrow out at Queens Harbor, and we'll tell you how you can get involved if you would like. So we're absolutely jam-packed. We're glad you're with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So we woke up to the news this morning that the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most recognized sports franchises in the world, have zeroed their sights in on Dan Hurley, the back-to-back national champion head coach of the University of Connecticut. And first off, if it happens, it hasn't happened yet. If it happens, it would be a great hire by the Lakers. But to me, this is a much broader topic than just UConn, than just Dan Hurley, or even the Lakers. This is much larger than that. think Billy Donovan beat people to the curve on this. You know, we saw a couple years ago when Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Boeheim and Jay Wright got out of college basketball. Obviously, Billy was years before them. Now it looks like Dan Hurley, after back-to-back titles, may be heading out of college basketball. We haven't necessarily seen the max exodus in college football other than Nick Saban retiring. See, there was always a gigantic difference between professional sports and collegiate sports. There were some guys that we said, nope, they're a college guy. There were some other guys that we said, nope, they're a pro guy. But here we are in 2024, and with the way the world is and the world of sports that we live in currently, is there that big of a difference anymore between professional athletics and collegiate athletics? Well, professional athletics has free agency. Guess what? So does collegiate athletics. What do you think the transfer portal is? That is free agency. Well, professional athletes get paid. Yeah, collegiate athletes get paid too. The world of NIL. See, back in the day, the thought was pro coaches didn't want to deal with recruiting. They didn't want to deal with that. They just wanted to coach the paid professionals. Well, in college now, not only if you're a college basketball or a college football guy, not only do you still have to recruit, not only do you still have to go on speaking tours all across your state and do your call-in show and all those obligations that you already had, but now you have to deal with the transfer portal, free agency. Now you have to deal with NIL, which is basically free agency. Players going to the highest bidder. The parallels between collegiate athletics and professional athletics, at least in the major sports, have never been as close as they are. And if you're a college coach, you still have to deal with the money. You still have to deal with making your athletes happy. You still have to deal with nonsense that comes with that. But you have a lot of other things on top of it that you're required to do that you do not have to do as a pro coach. So what's the difference? If you get paid more or the same to be a coach in the NFL or a coach in the Southeastern Conference, what's the difference? In the NFL, you can go 9-8 or 10-7 and be rewarded. If you're a coach at a major program in the Southeastern Conference or the Big Ten, and you lose 2 or 3 games, your fan base is crushing you. There's just not a big difference anymore, man. And that's why I look and I see these college basketball guys either retiring or going to the pros. Now, again, we haven't seen it in college football yet other than Nick Saban. But these guys that have been in the game for a long time, these guys that have known a certain way of collegiate athletics, that way is no more. You're talking 16, 17-game schedules. You're talking players getting paid. You're talking players moving around with free will in the portal. It is a different world. That's why, at least to me, as far as coaching goes, pro guys or college guys, there's much more of a gray area there than there's ever been. And we'll see if Dan Hurley takes the job with the Lakers. It'd be a coup for LA. Great coach. Denmark, you got a little bit of a different take on this, do you not?
Yeah, there's still a big difference when it comes to coaching. In college now, with the money and stuff, you still have parents of kids going up to the coach and saying, hey, what can you do for my kid? I'm almost positive that's not happening at the pro level.
Right.
That's number one. But for the last couple of years, we're kind of blowing this out of proportion, I think. I mean, this is the best college coach in the game, and you tend to see oftentimes in football and basketball, the best coach over a period of time in college usually wants to take a shot at the pro level.
Yeah, but what about the guys that stepped aside?
Right, and that's understandable. Like that's true, but
I
still,
think Coach K, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, Jim
those are guys were
Boeheim,
up there in their 70s,
right,
too.
they could have coached longer, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Some of those guys absolutely could. It was NIL and the portal that they wanted to get out of.
That is all true, but there's still plenty of good coaches, still plenty of good, teams and coaches of that nature. But it's still like we're blowing this out of proportion. Like if this story didn't come up, it's still. I don't understand how in college, like anything that happens with NIL, it's just like it's like a volcano, and it's this big thing that has to be changed. It's like this has always been happening. Like Jimmy Johnson left to go pro, or Steve Spurrier. You can go down the list of all these guys.
Sure.
But
again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. People always referred to Spurrier as a college guy, and they were shocked when he went to the pros. I think as more time goes on, that whole he's a college guy, he's a pro guy might be a gray area. And I'll give you a perfect example. Kirby Smart, the best coach in college football right now. I'm not breaking any news there, right? If you're Kirby Smart and you're always referred as a college guy, okay, he probably is a college guy. But what does a college guy detail now? It means recruiting people that are not freshmen, recruiting juniors, seniors from all over the country in the portal. It means dealing with NIL, i.e. free agency, having a lot more on your plate in that regard. Steve Spurrier never had to do that. Bobby Bowden never had to do that. Bear Bryant never had to do that. And if Bobby Bowden or Steve Spurrier had to do that in their era, what's to say they would not have tested the waters in the NFL even earlier than Spurrier did? Look, I don't think Kirby's going to leave Georgia, but in today's day and age, with the gray area the way it is in the NFL and college, if I were to wake up next offseason after the Dallas Cowboys hypothetically fire Mike McCarthy and wake up to the news that they're courting Kirby Smart, I wouldn't be stunned.
I'd be stunned by that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
I would be
with
stunned.
where we are in sports, I would not be.
Lincoln Riley, I could see taking that step. Kirby Smart, I can't see him.
Yeah, but you
doing
would have
that.
said the same thing about Spurrier.
Probably, but
And you would have said the same thing probably about Urban. I mean, it's nothing is stunning until it's stunning. I remember I had my cousins and uncles and everybody, and this was even before NIL and before the portal. Spurrier's a college guy. He'll never do it. Spurrier's a college guy. He'll never do it. And I'll never forget the day I was working at the Regal Cinemas there on Phillips Highway, the one that's still there that I don't think they've painted since I left there in 2002. And I'll never forget being in that hallway, finding out Steve Spurrier left. And just the stunned bewilderment on people's faces in that movie theater that day that were Florida fans.
But didn't Spurrier always say you got 10 years pretty much? Or he had 10 years at Florida?
I remember the thought was he would never go to the NFL until money talks. And look, again, Dan Hurley is not a big name in these parts. He's a big name in college basketball. He's the back-to-back champion. But I just think with a lot of things that college coaches have to deal with, the transfer portal has never been as crazy as it is now. The NIL money has never been as crazy as it is now. The parallels between that aspect of it and what you get in the pros is not very dissimilar. And we'll see. We'll see if more college guys go to the pros. I don't think more pro guys would go to college because, again, I think pro is probably an easier job. Well, honestly, where do you have more pressure? Do you have more pressure as head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, or do you have more pressure as head coach of the Florida Gators?
Come on, that's easy, man. Florida.
Absolutely.
Not even close.
Absolutely. With more responsibility. Billy Napier's got to do a lot more things non-football related than Doug Peterson has to do. A lot more things. Doug Peterson's job is to wake up, go down to the Miller Electric Center, get his team prepared to play a game on Sunday, coach them up, do all the meetings, do everything a coach is supposed to do, whereas Billy Napier has to do that He also has to be on the phone 8 hours a day with high school recruits. He's got to be buttering up high school coaches. He's got to be traveling on his days off to this school and that speaking engagement and this speaking engagement.
Oh, and you got your staff that's got to do the same thing as you. But in the NFL, they only care about the X's and O's. That's the biggest thing.
Right. So, again, if Kirby Smart woke up one day and he said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I got to pay, this quarterback $3 million. Well, heck, I can go to the NFL and pay a quarterback millions of dollars. And that's an easier gig than what I got right now. Might be what Dan Hurley's thinking. We'll see if he takes the Laker gig, but I think it's an interesting aspect of where we are in sports that, to me, I don't think the difference between a college coach in football and basketball especially and an NFL or college football coach is that dissimilar. 641-1010 on the phone line and on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. What do you think? Will we see more college guys jumping to the pro game in light of where we are with the portal, with NIL? We'll talk Jaguar football coming up. Leon Searcy, former Pro Bowl offensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You hear him every day on Primetime. You hear him with me and the head coach Dave Campo on the fifth quarter during the year here on 1010XL during the football season. He also has a golf tournament he's putting on next Friday at Queens Harbor that we will tell you about as well. With Dylan Denmark, I'm the hacker Ryan Green, 1010XL, 92.5. It's Hacker After Dark, and as always, the good men and women of Jacksonville, Florida, we're glad you are with us.
What would you call a man who would stoop as low as to do something like this?
Dan Hicken.
Let the man keep what's left of his dignity, please.
Jeff Prosser.
Tight pants and fast cars don't make you Batman.
Together they are the Drill. Mornings on 1010XL.
Hacker here, and I just got back from a 9-day cruise to the Caribbean. Now, I knew I was going to slip off my Awaken 180 program because, hey, I deserve it. I've lost 65 pounds so far. But guess what? My Awaken 180 coach even suggested it and helped me cheat. She showed me how to take a break for 9 days and not put any of the weight back on. I ate all sorts of foods, from fried green tomatoes to frog legs, but the shocking part, I didn't keep going back up for seconds, thirds, or fourths. My body didn't need it, and I really didn't want it. Did I lose weight on vacation? No, I was on a break. But did I gain 10 pounds? No, sir. I didn't gain a single pound because my metabolism is on fire. My body's just doing its thing. If you want a program that works, want coaches that understand real life, do what we all did and call Awaken 180. They've got your back while keeping your front from popping. 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prime Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prime Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 904-902-8222. 904-902-8222. To regain your sex life in just one visit, call now. 904-902-8222.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our returning champion, a basketball court sweat mopper from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Louis Cramp.
Great to be back, Merv.
There's only one category left on the board, Louis. People you can trust to repair your air conditioner. Your 10 seconds starts now.
Well, I'm pretty handy with tools around. Right, so my Uncle Steve used to fix transmissions, so maybe he could... Okay, sorry. I guess just call the guys at Bueller?
That's right, Lewis. The highly trained technicians at Bueller Air and Plumbing have the tools and the experience to service any make and model of home air conditioner to make sure that you are cool.
You sure I can't just have a quick...
Yeah, we're done for today.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 6, 2018, LeBron James passes Michael Jordan's record for most 30-point games in NBA playoff history.
Hey sports fans, this is Hayes Carlyon from MyBookie. The NBA playoffs are heating up and it's the perfect time to elevate your game with MyBookie. With MyBookie, you can bet from anywhere, anytime, so you never miss a shot to cash in on a play. You can even live stream and bet on the games right from the sportsbook, giving you everything you'll need to decide, cash out or let it ride. MyBookie really makes it easy to get paid with tons of boosted props and slam dunk parlays, and new boosts are now posted on the daily. It's more than just a sportsbook. Buzzer beaters, underdog upsets, and a community to share in all of the sweats. Give yourself a head start today and play with house money using promo code 1010XL when you make your first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to claim a limited time bonus when you sign up and make your first deposit. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. And don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
Prosser here. As you may or may not know by now, I did the research and decided to go with Jack's Concrete Coatings for my garage floor. OMG, as the kids would say. I can't begin to tell you how good it looks, how happy we are. We brag on it anytime someone walks in the garage. They had the job finished in one day with a lifetime warranty. That's right. As the certified Pintech dealer for North Florida, the only company offering pure polyurea, I can't wait to do my patio deck next. Call 862-2000. That's the number, 862-2000, or jacksconcretecoatings.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars wrapping up their third and final week of OTAs. They will have a mini camp next week, and then they will be back in late July when we kick off training camp here in 2024. Let's talk to a man that's participated in many OTAs. He played over a decade in the National Football League. Of course, you hear him every day on XL Primetime. My buddy Leon Searcy, who also has his own golf tournament coming up 1 week from tomorrow. Leon, how you doing?
Doing great, bro.
Leon, appreciate the time, man. I certainly want to talk Jags with you, but I want to talk about this golf tournament that you got coming on June 14th. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Okay, well, I got a golf tournament that's sponsored by the Smoking Aces and World Sports Alumni, one in Orlando and one in Jacksonville. And they gave me the concept of raising money. I'm raising money for scholarships for my mom. My mom passed away about 6 years ago, and she graduated from Florida A&M with a business degree. So what I'm doing is I'm raising money to give kids from the First Coast an opportunity to go to Florida A&M who are going to be majoring in business, a scholarship to the school. So, the golf tournament in Queens Harbor next Friday, June 14th. Shotgun is at 9 a.m. And it's a celebrity golf tournament. I got, Jaguar friends coming through, Mike Hollis. I got Kevin Hardy. I got John Henderson coming. I got Big Sofa coming, Donovan Darius, Aaron Beasley. And then I got some basketball friends of mine from Orlando. I got Chucky Atkins, Nick Anderson's coming, Brandon Merriweather, Ike Taylor, Lamar Thomas, And then I got guys like Greg Kite, to play with the Boston Celtics. So, I mean, it's going to be a fun-filled affair with a lot of fans and a lot of celebrities to raise some money for a worthwhile charity.
Former Orlando Magic great Greg Kite. I remember him very well. And that's a cool thing to do in memory of your mom, certainly. And quickly, for people that want to get involved, Leon, we'll talk about this again in a little bit, but just quickly here, is there room available? How can people get involved with this event there on June 14th?
Yeah. If you would like to volunteer or you'd like to participate in the golf tournament as a foursome or come as an individual, you can go to one of the two websites. You can go to smokingacesjacksonville.com or you can go to worldsportsalumni.com. You can register as a volunteer, you can register as a participant, you can bring your threesome, bring your foursome, all that kind of stuff. So we still got room for sponsors as well and participants and volunteers.
No, that's great stuff, and we'll certainly mention that again before we wrap up here. All right, you've been out there at OTAs the last couple of weeks. I know there's no pads, there's no hitting. That's what you like, and we'll see that next month in training camp. But for what they are, OTAs, well, actually, let's start there. A veteran like yourself, do you get anything out of OTAs, or is this really for the young guys on the roster?
Oh, well, as you become an old dog in the league, like I was, with the Jaguars, you don't see any real reason to do OTAs outside. It's just conditioning. It's just to see who's been doing what. You're running a lot of plays. You get a great deal amount of the install. You're probably getting about 80 to 90% of the install, and it's really for the younger guys to see. How much can they take all this information and decipher it on the field within a day or two. And coaches do that a lot because they want to see, because listen, you got to remember, you got young guys who came from college, first time in the league, they got a lot of time on their hand, and a lot of coaches do that kind of stuff, give them all that information to see if they can decipher it on the field, because they want to see who's studying. Because a lot of young guys, unfortunately, they get all this time to get this money. They want to hang out. They want to do this and that. So coaching staffs, just my history of knowing what coaches do back in my day, they give you all the information and see. Because if you're making mistakes on the field, you're making busts and all that kind of stuff, you seem a little lackluster because you're not aware of this. That coaches can tell the guys who are studying and not studying. But as far as the veterans go, who pretty much know all the information, know all the install from years and years ago, it's just about getting the juices flowing again, getting yourself in some kind of a competitive shape because you've gone through it for so long. So for me, the OTAs is just a refresher and letting you know that the season's right around the corner.
Former Jacksonville Jaguar offensive tackle Leon Searcy here with us on Hacker After Dark. Leon, you and I haven't spoken on air since OTAs began, so let's dive into a couple of guys. Brian Thomas, again, you just see him out there. To me, he looks the part. He looks like he belongs, Leon. What have you seen out of the Jaguar rookie?
Yeah, I mean, of course, when you're a first-round pick, all eyes are going to be on you. I've been watching him. I mean, he's looks the part. He's got the size. He's got the speed. My only concern with Brian Thomas Jr. is the fact that he's relatively young. He's a rookie, and he's going to be asked to be the number one receiver. He's going to be asked to take the top off the defense because of his speed and his ability to score touchdowns. I mean, you can't question his productivity. I mean, he had 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns in the toughest conference in college football. So if the track record speaks for itself as far as the last 5 years, as far as LSU wide receivers, you hope that he's the next one in line as far as the success that they've had in the league.
And it's interesting, that wide receiver room, when you add him, you get Christian Kirk back healthy, obviously Gabe Davis, throw in a Devin Duvernay, if you want to go Evan Ingram at tight end. There's no doubt, Leon, there's talent at the skill positions. It's really going to come down, I guess, obviously to Trevor, but it all starts up front with the offensive line. What are your thoughts on some of the new guys like Mitch Morse, the re-signing of Ezra Cleveland, the rookie Javon Foster? What have you seen out of the O-line so far?
Well, Mitch Morse is, they brought him in to be the centerpiece. They obviously worked happy with the productivity of my man Fortner, because they didn't make any other changes on the offensive line. It kind of scapegoats Fortner that we're the reason why we couldn't do this or we couldn't do that, run the ball or protect the passer. So it's unfortunate in that aspect. But as far as guys who have played the game, at a relatively good level with Ezra Cleveland and Mitch Morris and Brandon Sheriff, I mean, you've got the veteran leadership that you're looking for interiorly, and quite frankly, that's where all the pressure came from last year. A lot of the pressure and the inability to run the football came between the guards and the center, and hopefully now that you got Mitch Morris, who's a solid foundation at the center position, because you got to remember the center is the quarterback of the offensive line. I mean, he's the guy that sets the table for everybody to eat as far as coming to the line of scrimmage, making the calls, where's the mic, too high safety, what defense they're in, everything like that. So he's got to be a firm communicator for the whole offensive line. And now that you've got that leadership at the center position, along with Ezra and Sheriff, I'm looking for big things from this offensive line because, I mean, they didn't make any other real changes offensively up front as far as free agency goes. You got Mitch Morris in the draft. So I think that the Jaguars feel that they're comfortable with the guys that they have in the middle because I think outside, more than likely, it's going to be Cam and it's going to be Anton Harrison. So we're going to see. We're going to see what kind of fortitude this offensive line is going to have moving forward.
If you throw Tyler Shatley into this, if he makes the team, if you take Shatley, Morse, Sheriff, and Cam Robinson, Leon, those four guys combined, you're talking about like 35 years of NFL experience. I mean, how valuable is that for the young guys in that room?
Oh, it's very valuable. I mean, if you're Anton Harrison, or if you're a Foster, they just came the fourth-round draft pick from Missouri, man, you got to be a sponge. You absolutely got to be a sponge. You've got to soak in all the information. You're talking about you got wisdom right in front of you. I mean, listen, when I came with the Steelers my rookie year, I remember Tunch Ilkin told me, hey, are you in this for the short term or the long term? I said the long term. He said, okay, well, I need you here at 6. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to train together. We're going to watch film. We're going to study. We're going to work out together. He said, I'm going to teach you how to be a professional. So if you want to be in the league for a while, you need to find you a mentor. You need to find you somebody who's done it, been there, done it for a long time, for the longevity purposes alone and the information that they have able to gather, the games and the playoff experience. I mean, you got to take all that in. You've got to be a sponge, like I said, absorb all that information because you can carry that on. That's why I said, listen, I was talking about this as far as Fortner goes. I mean, listen, you got to be a professional. You got replaced because you got somebody that's better than you, but you can't pout. You can't moan and groan about it. You just got to learn from it. And you got your Mitch Morris in front of you who's been in big games, been in playoff games. You got to absorb all the information because you can carry that with you, whether it be moving forward with the Jaguars or moving forward with another team. That's how you stay in the league. You learn how to be a professional, and you stay in this game.
Couple of more for former Jaguar Pro Bowl offensive tackle Leon Searcy. Leon, I know I saw you down there earlier this week. I talked to Anton Harrison after that practice. I got to tell you, man, I'm more impressed by him every time I talk to him. Not only his play on the field, but his demeanor, his leadership for a guy coming into his second year in the league. I am really high on what Anton Harrison could become. What's your thought there?
Yeah, the kid's only listen. He's gotten better and better week in and week out. He's ascended. He's learned from because listen, when he played against Kansas City Chiefs, I saw the game when he went up against Chris Jones and he baptized him. Listen, you play in this game long enough, you're going to get baptized. He gave up 3 sacks to Chris Jones, but guess what? You either learn from that or you let it linger. And the kid learned from that, and he got better week in and week out. He got better and better and better. And he has the opportunity to be a pretty good one. Absolutely has the opportunity to be a pretty good because everything that I'm hearing from the kid is that he's well demeanored, he's very humble. But when he's on the phone or when he's on the field, he's nasty. He's a dog. I can't call him a pit. Yeah, he's still a puppy. But he's going to get that pit bull. I'm going to call him a pit bull pretty soon if he's playing the way he's been playing.
I like him. I like him a lot. No question about it. Leon, as we begin to wrap up, all right, final week of OTAs. They got a mini camp next week, although according to Doug Peterson earlier this week, a lot of veterans might get next week off. It'll be more for the younger guys. What's the message to the guys as they go away now for about 5 weeks leading into training camp? I mean, is it essentially just be smart. Don't do anything that you're not supposed to do. Is that the message as we get ready for training camp?
Yes. Stay out of trouble. Okay. And listen, I remember Bill Cowell used to always tell us this when we were leaving minicamp before we had to go to training camp. He said, listen, don't do anything that's going to embarrass you, your family, this organization, or this team. Just don't do it, because you got to remember, guys got money, guys got time, and it's the summertime. Everybody's on break. Everybody wants to hang out here, hang out there. Just be smart about it. I'm not saying don't have a great time. Just be smart about who and where you hang out. Because I always told, my grandma used to say, listen, if you're looking for trouble, you'll find it. You will find it.
There's no doubt about that, and I think we've all been there, no question. Look, Leon, offensive line's a fraternity, and I got to ask you, man, I know you've been asked about it all week, so sorry if you have to keep bringing it up, but obviously the loss of Larry Allen, an 11-time Pro Bowler, a first-ballot Hall of Famer. I'm sure that you knew Larry pretty well, being offensive linemen in the league together. Just your thoughts, man. 52 years old, way too young when you heard about that earlier this week.
Yeah, the NFL players are like a fraternity, man. I mean, we might have battled against each other, competed against each other, but we all love each other unconditionally because we know how hard it is to get in this game and to be productive in this game and last in this game. And to see one of the all-time greats just pass away at 52 years old, man, it broke my heart. I've run into Larry a couple of times when I was playing. Last time I talked to Larry was actually at the Jerome Bettis' Hall of Fame induction party right before he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and we chopped it up. We exchanged war stories and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's sad, man. Larry Allen is probably the only offensive lineman that I envy when I played. And when I say envied is that, when you go into when you play football, you say and you know that you're the best because every time you walk on the field, you got to say that you're the baddest MO that's on the field. And every time I used to watch film on Larry Allen, I envied him because I could not block like that. I mean, this guy would decimate and dismantle defensive tackles and linebackers, man. And I had my share of big hits and knocking guys over, but this guy did it on such a consistent basis, man. He's probably one of the 3 greatest offensive linemen I've ever seen play. So it's sad, it's sad for the football fraternity, it's sad for the NFL Hall of Fame fraternity, and I'm sad for his family. 52 years old is just too young to pass away, and I feel bad for him and all those who are around him who loved him.
Yeah, just a dominating presence there in the middle of that Dallas Cowboy offensive line during the glory years there in Dallas. And like you said, prayers up for his family and friends. All right, Leon, as we begin to wrap up, you have that golf tournament on June the 14th. Again, tell people where it is, how they can get involved, and what it's all about.
All right. Well, I got a golf tournament June 14th. Shotgun is at 9 a.m. at Queens Harbor. All right, celebrity golf tournament to raise money for my mom's Early Cersei scholarship fund to provide college scholarships to kids in the First Coast who want to major in business and go to Florida A&M. And you can sign up as a volunteer, as a participant, or as a foursome at SmokingAcesJacksonville.com or WorldSportsAlumni.com.
Leon, you're the man. We certainly appreciate you. Have a great weekend, buddy. And it's not going to be long until you and I are meeting on a weekly basis because the regular season is right around the corner. Best of luck with your golf tournament out there at Queens Harbor next Friday.
Appreciate it, bro.
There you go. Leon Searcy here with us on Hacker After Dark. And, yeah, next Friday, Queens Harbor. And we'll obviously mention that more as it approaches. A great cause, a great deal that Leon's putting on. And quite a list. A lot of former Jaguars, former Orlando Magic players, some former Hurricanes as well. Should be a good time out there at Queens Harbor next Friday. The NFC East, that has been our division this week. We're going division by division every week leading up to Jaguar training camp. We've already been to Washington. We've already been to New York. Tonight, Let's go to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. I think most people believe they are the favorites coming into the year, but they got to replace Fletcher Cox. They got to replace Hassan Reddick. They got to replace Jason Kelsey. They did add some quality pieces, including a guy named Saquon Barkley. Bo Wolf is one of our guys up in Philadelphia. He's on YouTube 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. Talking Philadelphia, it's all Philly, allphly.com is his website. He's covered the Eagles for years. Let's review the Eagle offseason. And the bottom line is this. After that collapse last year is Nick Sirianni, who was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Is he on the hot seat in Philadelphia in 2024? I'll ask Bo Wolf that next as our NFC East preview continues. Tonight, it's all about the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think we're ready for a tournament.
We are so flipping good.
Attention, Googans. Come drive, drop, and dink with the drill Friday, June 14th.
It's our first tournament.
At the Fruit Cove Recreation Club. Cash prizes, free swag, beginner's clinic, and Jeff E.T. and I in an exhibition match.
It looks so easy.
Go to thefruitcove.com and click on the 1010 flyer. To sign up your men's, women's, or mixed team, that's thefruitcove.com.
We are so good at pickleball.
Sponsored by good friends at Injury Care Centers and Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Your cooling system isn't working. Maybe somebody showed up with a portable electronic device. Then they discussed with you what your options are. Maybe they gave you an estimate that seems like an awful lot of money. What's the smart thing to do? When the situation merits a second opinion, get a Mike Merritt opinion. Yes, the Mike Merritt Comfort Team shows up with hand tools. We've never been able to fix an air conditioning problem with a tablet. Mike Merritt has been the trusted name for more than 30 years because there's never any hocus pocus. The Merritt team will walk you through the diagnostic steps up close and personal and show you exactly what you need. And the Mike Merritt price is likely to be far less because there's never an overtime charge, and the Merritt team doesn't work on commission. So remember, when it comes to the health of your cooling system, a second opinion can only help, and a Mike Merritt opinion can save you money. Florida license CACO 50384.
Is your roof ready to weather the storm? Don't take chances with your home safety. Trust the experts at Universal Roof and Contract. Get peace of mind knowing your home is protected from the elements. They'll ensure your roof is in top shape to handle anything Mother Nature throws its way. Right now, get 10% off a re-roof or repairs, plus a free wind mitigation with a full roof replacement. Call 855-ROOF-HELP or click universalroof.com to schedule your free roof inspection. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Blue here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
It's the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour. Join Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burley as they discuss the latest in the world of soccer, including Sporting Jacks bringing pro men's and women's soccer to Jacksonville. Mondays at 6 on 1010 a.m.
Hey, it's Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. If you're like me, you're getting crushed by rising costs of everything these days. I get it. It's brutal, and credit card rates are ridiculous and going higher. That's why at Loan Pronto, we launched our Express Equity Line of Credit to bring you the relief you and your family need, using your home, your most valuable asset. We've helped thousands of people like you get fast relief with cash. The average homeowner who does this gets tens of thousands in just days and is able to save $850 per month in overall expenses. I'm talking life-changing money. Your money that that you have access to right now. Listen, if you're ready to get control of your finances and get off the hamster wheel, call Loan Pronto. You can get approved for Express Equity Line of Credit in just minutes, and we can get your cash in less than a week. Stop digging a deeper credit card hole today. Call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS consumeraccess.org.
Hey Jaguar fans, I'm Donovan Darius, former 10-year NFL All-Pro Jacksonville Jaguar safety. I'm hosting my 8th annual youth football tackling technique camps all throughout Jacksonville. With over 50 skills and drills, these young athletes will learn everything it takes from me and my coaches to be effective on and off the field. This camp is for kids ages 7 to 14 for June 18th, June 20th, and June 24th. To sign up your kid, go to DariusNextLevelTraining.com. DariusNextLevelTraining.com.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Let's go! Join us this Saturday, June 8th at 7 o'clock in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena as your Sharks take on the Tulsa Oilers. Great seats are still available. Ask about our awesome family package. 4 tickets, 4 food or merchandise vouchers, and a $25 Al's Pizza gift card. Get yours today. Call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksonsharks.com. The Shark Tank is having a luau. So break out your flip-flops and grass skirts and come join us. Check out the Polynesian dancers and learn the hula at Shark Fest, our pregame party. The first 1,000 fans will get a free lei. It's going to be a totally tubular night.
Jacksonville Sharks, Tulsa Oilers.
That's Saturday, June 8th, 7 o'clock. For tickets, call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksonsharks.com. That's 904-621-0700 or jacksharks.com. Let's go!
Let's go.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as our NFC East week continues. Stops in Washington, Dallas, New York. Tonight, it's all about the Philadelphia Eagles, probably the favorite coming into 2024, a team that has had a very good offseason on paper. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles with Bo Wolf, allphly.com. You can see those shows 5 days a week on YouTube, and Bo's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Bo, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Bo, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, Philadelphia and Jacksonville. The parallels last year were very interesting. Both teams through 11 weeks, I think, were the number 1 seeds in their respective conferences. Jacksonville, we bottomed out and completely missed the playoffs. Philadelphia bottomed out and got in for an extra week, but then really didn't play very well against Tampa. What has been the reaction up there in the city of brotherly love to the collapse the Eagles had last season?
Yeah, I mean, the reaction immediately is Nick Sirianni going to keep his job? And I think the Eagles themselves, including Jeffrey Lurie, were very much on the fence about that. You know, there is the reported dalliance with Bill Belichick that has become sort of an open secret. You know, Bill Belichick joking about it on the Tom Brady roast. And so it's very clear that was a question for the Eagles, which when you take a step back and look at Nick Sirianni's record over his 3 seasons is kind of wild. You know, it's one of the best records that a coach has ever had in his first 3 seasons. He took a team to the Super Bowl. But the way that they collapsed last season, just utterly and completely, like they were a worse team than the Jaguars were at the end of the season. And part of it was because of the decision that was made midseason to demote Sean Desai and bring in Matt Patricia as defensive coordinator, totally backfired. And so instead of moving on from Nick Sirianni, what Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman did was clean house of the coordinators. And they went out and brought in sort of the most plug-and-play options on both sides of the ball. Vic Fangio, everybody knows about, the defensive whiz who people have sort of been trying to copy throughout the league over the past, 5-6 years. He is here to take over the defense with a bunch of new position coaches. And then Kellen Moore, who was a longtime rival of the Eagles as the coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, and on 1 year with the Chargers last year. He's here to take over the offense. And so while the roster is not totally different than it was a season ago, and you can make a case that it even is a little bit worse on paper than it was a year ago, what the Eagles are counting on is sort of some competency in the people who are running the show schematically on offense and defense as what's going to take them over the top.
Bo Wolf does a great job covering the Philadelphia Eagles, all PHLY.com. Again, we'll tell you how you can watch that show every day on YouTube, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. He's our guy when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And Bo, Jalen Hurts last year, again, kind of like Trevor Lawrence, a parallel. Started the year great, obviously struggled towards the end. What is the thought about Jalen Hurts coming out of last year and entering 2024?
Yeah, it's interesting. He entered last year as, arguably one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the league. He played the best game of his life in that Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. And it was like, well, that must be the level that he's going to play at. And, he's still young. He's 25 years old. But progress is not linear in the NFL. And he had a down second half of the season last year. And if you look at the surrounding cast that he has, I would imagine that almost every quarterback in the league, if not every single one, would switch places with him, would take what he has around him with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and what should be a good offensive line again, although there is some question mark about that because Jason Kelce is retired now and Lane Johnson is a little bit older. There are some moving pieces. They don't know who's going to start at right guard. But aside from that, you would think that he has everything he needs on offense to succeed. Now, he was a little bit less dynamic athletically last year. It didn't make as much of an impact as a runner. Some of that could have been injury. Some of that could have been just sort of deciding to change his play style a little bit. If he can be the quarterback he was in 2022, the Eagles will win the division and probably make the Super Bowl. If he can be just a little bit better than he was last year, I still think they would be set up to win the division. But there's no doubt that there is sort of pressure on him this season to prove that he can be better than he was a year ago.
You mentioned Jason Kelce. That's the offensive side. You could add Fletcher Cox into the defensive side. I mean, 2 stalwarts for the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 guys whose names may be in that stadium one day in the rafters there. I mean, how do you go about replacing them, not only on the field but in the locker room?
Yeah, it's interesting because this was not a surprise to the Eagles, right? They have planned their succession plans for both of those guys for a long time. So, they drafted Jason Kelce's replacement in 2016, Isaac Seumalo. He played for the Eagles for several years and now is gone. Landon Dickerson was at one point drafted to be Jason Kelce's replacement. Now he is the starting left guard and is making over $20 million. Then they drafted Cam Jurgens, who was the right guard last year. He is now set to take over as the center. He is more of the Kelce style in terms of very athletic. You want to get him out in open space and see what he can do there. That it would be impossible to expect him to be as good as Jason Kelce, but I think the Eagles feel confident that he can get the job done. And then at right guard, they've got last year's third-round pick Tyler Steen slated to be the starter. Now, they almost drafted an offensive lineman in the first round this year, and so it's not like they love Steen. There's going to be some competition there. Matt Hennessy will be involved, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think the offensive line should be okay, but it's going to be a bit of a come down to reality for Eagles fans who have been so used to this being like a top 3 offensive line every year. I think to see them be like a top 10 offensive line might be a bit of a come down. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Fletcher Cox was really good last year, arguably their best player on defense over the course of the season. They drafted Jalen Carter in the first round last year. They drafted Jordan Davis in the first round 2 years ago. So they have bodies there, and I think their season on defense, how good they are on defense, is going to really depend on one of Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis taking a big leap. Now, Jalen Carter was very good last year as a rookie. 6 sacks as a rookie defensive tackle is very rare. There's a chance that he turns into one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL in year 2, and that would make them really good. Jordan Davis has been a bit of a disappointment through the first 2 years of his career. He has held up well against the run, but that was sort of table stakes when they drafted him. They drafted him with the expectation he could turn into a pass rusher, and he hasn't done that yet. So if he takes that year 3 jump that some defensive tackles do take, then they'll be in better shape there. But I think on defense, the goal in bringing in Vic Fangio is to just have some level of competency. They want to be a top 15 defense. They don't need to be a top 5 defense. They need the offense to carry them, and we will see how that goes. As for the locker room stuff, I find this a little bit tricky because they had those guys in the locker room last year, and they collapsed down the stretch. So what impact did that make necessarily? I feel like winning begets that good locker room culture, and if there is anything that Nick Sirianni can hang his hat on, in theory, it is creating that good locker room culture. And so I would worry a little bit less about that and more about losing 2 of the best players that they had.
No, that's a great point. Bo Wolf here with us, allphly.com, talking Philadelphia Eagles as our NFC East preview continues. Bo, last year, A.J. Brown, there were, I guess, some issues with him, right? I know there was some talk that he wasn't happy, wasn't getting targeted enough, that sort of thing. Obviously, an offseason can cure a lot of that. Is everything good now with Philadelphia and A.J. Brown?
I would say so. I mean, he did just signed a long-term extension. He and Devontae Smith both signed extensions this offseason, so you would imagine that they're happy and good to go. Once you've been paid, there's a little bit less of a urgency to get all the targets that you can. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown talk a lot about how close they are. They talk every day. So I think the idea that they didn't get along is probably overstated, but those guys want the ball, and the offense is designed to get them the ball. Now, we haven't talked about Saquon Barkley yet, but the offense should still flow through A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert to a lesser extent. If you look at like the target numbers, this offense, more than any other offense in the league, was just 3 guys in the passing game. And to be fair, they didn't really address wide receiver 3 in a major way this offseason. There's a big question as to who that's going to be. They signed Devontae Parker, then he retired a couple weeks ago. So they've got Paris Campbell, 5th-round pick Aeneas Smith, 6th-round pick Johnny Wilson sort of competing for that role. It's still going to be the top 3 guys, and then I would expect that they're going to try to make Saquon Barkley a big part of the passing game, but we will see. Sometimes that turns out to be, more likely on paper than actually in practice.
Mentioning Saquon Barkley, not only do you upgrade Philly's roster, you hurt your rival in New York. I talked with the Giants earlier this week, and the fan base there, as you can imagine, not very pleased that Saquon decided to go to the city of brotherly love. What is the thought about Saquon Barkley's arrival there in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, people are excited. People are surprised because, the Eagles have not traditionally paid running backs, and they've been on the forefront of that. And I think their position is that the market had changed so much that the top of the class, the best difference-making running backs, are a little bit undervalued. I think what Saquon Barkley is here to do is twofold. One, they want, when there are explosive plays to be had in the running game, they want those to be big plays. And there have been times over the past couple of years when Miles Sanders and or DeAndre Swift have not made that the case. And then 2, I think when they are in like 4-minute drills and they have a chance to salt away games, this is something that they did so well in 2017 when they went to win the Super Bowl. And they didn't do a great job with it the last year. And I think that they are hanging their hat on Saquon Barkley being able to do that. He's obviously going to have to carry a heavy load. That's what he's being paid to do. But I do think that, with the way that this franchise believes in analytics and the way that Kellen Moore has called games in the past, this is still going to be a pass-first offense.
Bo, as we begin to wrap up, the division itself, the vibe I've gotten this week, Philadelphia at the top, probably a little bit of a gap to Dallas, and then a decent gap to either Washington and or New York. Is that the way you see it heading into 2024?
I do, although I'm not so sure that I would even make so much of a gap between the Eagles and the Cowboys. I know that the Cowboys have not done much this offseason, and I find their roster-building strategy of not extending Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and waiting to be, questionable at best. But the Eagles did have a terrible end of the season last year, and they have to prove that they can come out of that and be a different team. And so I'm not necessarily willing to give the Eagles a clear favorite over the Cowboys at this point. I think it's a two-team race, and then yes, I do think there's a pretty significant drop-off between those top two and the Giants and the Commanders.
I mean, Nick Sirianni could do no wrong 2 years ago when he went to the Super Bowl, and then they had the collapse last year. Philadelphia, those fans don't mess around. Are we talking playoffs for the Eagles this year, or Sirianni could be in trouble?
I would even go as far as to say if they don't make it out of the first round, then Nick Sirianni would be in trouble. I think there are always extenuating circumstances if there are injuries and things like that, but yeah, I think the expectations internally right now for Nick Sirianni are for this team to at least make the second round of the playoffs, if not further.
Bo, there's a lot of Philadelphia fans here in the Northeast Florida area, certainly. Tell them about your coverage of the Eagles and where they can find you.
Sure. Zach Berman and I have our PHLY Eagles show live Monday to Friday every single day on YouTube, normally at noon. And you can read our coverage at allphly.com. And we are here every single day, no matter what, talking about the Eagles.
Of course, the Jaguars will be traveling up to Philadelphia for Sunday Night Football later on in the season. Bo Wolf, allphly.com. Bo, really appreciate it, man. Thank you as always. If we don't talk to you beforehand, we'll certainly talk to you there in October when the Jaguars make the trip to Philadelphia.
Thanks, Ryan.
She doesn't cook and she doesn't clean.
Disqualified.
But she sure knows sports.
Move over, Rover. This chick is taking over.
Mia O'Brien.
I'm so excited to be here.
On Helmets and Heels from noon to 2 on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. I'm down 65 pounds thanks to that program since February 20th. It's changed my life. It's changed my family's life. I get to be so much more active now with my 5-year-old. I was just on a cruise. I took family photos that I would have never imagined taking last year due to my weight. I mean, it has just changed every aspect of how I live my daily life. It's the best weight loss program I've ever been on, and it's not even close. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, and you've heard me talk about them and you're thinking about it, trust me, make the call. 844-346-1800, 844-346-1800, or go online, awaken180weightloss.com. If I can do it, believe me, you can do it. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Summer starts now at Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet with our summer sale. It's not sink or swim. We have vehicles for every budget and every need, starting as low as $79.99, and you won't get burnt. We offer 20-year 200,000-mile protection on new and 7-year 100,000-mile protection on used. Plus, we can really cool things off with our 30-day exchange policy. Start the summer off the way you deserve it with our summer sale at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. We're here to wow you.
AC Hotline, how can I help?
Help! Our AC isn't working, and my husband's pouring ice cubes down his pants.
Wow, okay, well, we can help with the AC issue.
Please. I'm afraid he's going to damage something.
Okay, I'm going to connect you with the Duck.
The Doc?
No, the Duck. Duck Air Conditioning. Jacksonville area's AC experts.
Okay, tell them to hurry.
Beat the Florida heat with Duck Air Conditioning. Service, repairs, new installations, commercial or residential. Trust the Duck. DuckDuckAC.com.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
Your kids can learn from NFL Hall of Famer LeRoy Butler's annual free Legends football and cheer camp, June 22nd at the Police Athletic League at Ed Austin Park. Register at jaxpalsports.com.
Builders Care is looking for volunteers, and there are so many ways you can help. Find out how at builderscare.org.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
Caddyshack Ranch provides a safe, loving, and forever home to endangered big cats. Caddyshack, on the north side of Jacksonville, has helped lions, tigers, and endangered animals for 30 years. Learn how you can visit or help at caddyshackranch.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com. Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Brackish Vodka, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is the smoothest local vodka you can find. Made right here in Jacksonville, Florida, 100% from corn, Brackish Vodka is the local gluten-free choice. Brackish Vodka, for those that live life slightly salty. A proud partner of the Jaguars.
Drink Brackish Vodka mixed into classic cocktails with that speakeasy vibe at the Volstead.
Did you know a metal roof from Prime Roofing has the highest wind and impact ratings available? If you want a stronger roof, think metal. Think Prime Roofing. Learn more at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
Need or want cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Regular strength training is key to maintaining muscle mass. Like muscle building, you need to stress the muscle to maintain strength. This means lifting enough weight and doing enough reps to the point where it's too hard to do one more. Yoga and Pilates are also lower impact muscle building workouts that help maintain lean body mass and improve flexibility. Let's get moving, Jacksonville.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Well, it's all Boston Celtics right now, 37-20. They lead Dallas beginning of the second quarter. The Celtics 7 threes in the first quarter of Game 1 of the Finals. They ended the first quarter on a 23-5 run, and they lead 37-20 at the beginning of the second quarter. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Hacker After Dark, a little Major League Baseball. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, my buddy Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic, as we're now 60 games into the regular season. So we'll talk a little Atlanta Braves, a little Tampa Bay Rays, and more with Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. But coming up next, college football preseason magazines are coming out pretty much daily. Will Miles, readandreaction.com. You guys know I love that website. He's got the Florida Gator Read and Reaction preseason magazine, 70 pages of information revolving around the Florida football team heading into 2024. We mentioned Billy Napier at the top of the show. We'll go more in depth about Billy Napier and his football team next with Will Miles of Read and Reaction. On a Thursday evening in Jacksonville, Florida, we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark rolls on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jacksonville's home for Florida Gators baseball.
The Gators advance to the Super Regional for a best-of-3 series against the Tigers in Clemson, Saturday at 2 and Sunday at 2:30 on 1010 AM. Coverage and analysis of the 2024 off-season workouts on 1010XL is brought to you by Duck Duck Rooter, Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our returning champion, a basketball court sweat mopper from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Louis Cramp.
Great to be back, Merv.
There's only one category left on the board, Louis. People you can trust to repair your air conditioner. Your 10 seconds starts now.
Well, I'm pretty handy with tools around. Right, so my Uncle Steve used to fix transmissions, so maybe he could... Okay, sorry. I guess just call the guys at Bueller?
That's right, Louis. The highly trained technicians at Bueller Air and Plumbing have the tools and the experience to service any make and model of home air conditioner to make sure that you are cool.
You sure I can't just have a quick...
Yeah, we're done for today.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
I know you want maximum equity from your home, but you're not quite sure how when it comes time to sell it. I'll tell you how. I'll give you two hows, Chad and Sandy. More on that in a second. It's a tougher market now. It means it's crucial to hire the right agents to sell your home to maximize price, and we have been telling you now for years, and why I'm recommending Chad and Sandy Newman at chadandsandy.com. They've got the plan and experience to sell your home fast for maximum cash. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts. You can cancel at any time, but most importantly, Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Take Mary in Panther Creek. My dream was to move from my Panther Creek home into a new Del Webb Sweetwater home closer to my family. Chad and Sandy made it happen. They sold my own home in just 14 days, plus they helped me get into my new dream home at the same time. Call the Jacksonville experts I trust and recommend. Call Chad and Sandy at 414-6200, 904-414-6200, or chadandsandy.com.
Kicking here with Zero Res. If you're like me, you like to sit on the sofa and recliners and watch a good game or show. You know, unwind down from the day. But sometimes TV time means food, drink, and a mess as well. That's why you need to have the Zero Res truck out and get that furniture looking great again. All of June, Zero Res offering 25% off all upholstery cleaning, 25% off a sectional, off a sofa, 25% off a love seat, 25% off your favorite recliner. Zero Res, man. You spell it forward, you spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 6, 2018, LeBron James passes Michael Jordan's record for most 30-point games in NBA playoff history.
What's up? I'm Patrick Young. If you're a business owner, make your plans to attend the Florida SBDC Network Small Business Success Summit, August 19th and 20th at the Sawgrass Marriott in Ponte Vedra. You'll network with other Florida business owners, learn marketing and operational strategies. Plus, I'll deliver an inspirational keynote message. There's also a reverse trade show event where you can speak with government agencies to explore their business partnerships. Register online at floridasbdc.org, and I will see you there.
Men suffering from ED or PE, see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. For a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. Call 904-664-8217, 904-664-8217.
Let's go! Join us this Saturday, June 8th at 7 o'clock in the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena as your Sharks take on the Tulsa Oilers. Great seats are still available. Ask about our awesome family package. 4 tickets, 4 food or merchandise vouchers, and a $25 Al's Pizza gift card. Get yours today. Call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksonsharks.com. Shark Tank is having a luau. So break out your flip-flops and grass skirts and come join us. Check out the Polynesian dancers and learn the hula at Shark Fest, our pregame party. The first 1,000 fans will get a free lei. It's going to be a totally tubular night.
Jacksonville Sharks, Tulsa Oilers.
That's Saturday, June 8th, 7 o'clock. For tickets, call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksonsharks.com. That's 904-621-0700 or jacksharks.com. Let's go!
Let's go!
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville, Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The late stages of May, the early stages of June, and preseason magazines are hitting the newsstands, and that includes the Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine. I read it every year. It is comprehensive when it comes to Florida Gator football. Will Miles puts it together. Will Miles of readandreaction.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Will, how you doing?
Doing great. Busy, or not really as busy anymore now that we finished up the magazine, but it's sort of a labor of love. We love putting it out there, and hopefully Gator fans get a lot of information and learn something from it, because it's got a lot of good stuff in there.
I tell you this every year. It is an encyclopedia for Florida Gator fans with all the information you could ever want on the upcoming season. Give us a brief description of the magazine this year. We'll certainly dive into some of the finer details in a moment, but putting the magazine together, what went into it this year?
Yeah, so it's 70 pages of Gator-only content, so it's differentiated from some of those other summer college football magazines that only have like 2 or 3 pages on your favorite team. And what we've really tried to do is sort of the title or the theme of this year is Florida against the world, and that's sort of a play on Trevor Etienne having that on his eye black underneath his helmet all year long last year, and then him bailing to Georgia. But also, look, this is a prove-it year for Billy Napier. It's a prove-it year for Graham Mertz. It's a prove-it year for the defense and Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts. And so there's a lot of naysayers out there, and we want to take a look at each of those areas and say, okay, so what does Ron Roberts bring? What did he learn when he was at Baylor? Can he take those things to Gainesville? How good can a guy like DJ Lagway be? What does Graham Mertz need to do to take the next step? And then how does Billy Napier scheme to get Trey Wilson open? And does the loss of Ricky Pearsall change that at all? So those are the sorts of things you're going to get when you take a look at this magazine. And it's very similar to what we have on the website. We've got some pretty cool features this year where you can scan a QR code and it'll take you to a YouTube clip that we then describe in the magazine, so you can actually see our description of what's going on schematically on the page while also being able to watch it there on your phone.
Will Miles, readandreaction.com. The Florida Gator Read and Reaction preseason magazine is out. We will let you know where you can pick it up in just a few moments. Will, since the last time you and I talked, boy, Billy Napier closed the portal pretty strong. 3 pretty big impact guys at 3 need positions, including, of course, Cormani McClain, who Florida fans thought they were getting a year ago. They finally get him now. Also some help at wide receiver, some help on the offensive line. A good job by Billy Napier as the portal closed.
Yeah, he's really used that portal to fill up, like you said, some of the holes. Specifically, the commitment of Elijah Badger is the one that jumps out to me. In many ways, because it then allows Trey Wilson to do all the sort of Swiss Army knife type of stuff that he does. There are a lot of things where Billy Napier actually had Trey Wilson in the backfield, where he had Montrell Johnson as the lead blocker, and that sort of puts the defense in a position where they don't know whether to be prepared for a running play, whether they're not sure to be prepared for a screen, or whether all of a sudden you can get Wilson open deep because you got him one-on-one on a linebacker. You can't do that if you don't have the help on the outside. So to me, Badger is the big pickup out of those 3, along with some of the safeties that he brought in earlier. The guys like Triquez Bridges, Asa Turner, and DJ Douglas, I think, are going to be big cogs on the defense. So real early on in the portal, they went with guys who had experience. And now, other than Badger coming on the back end, they really sort of filled out the depth with young, high profile, high upside type of guys who, if they contribute in 2024, I think we'd be happy. But really, those guys, specific guys like Cormani McClain, the expectation is those guys are really 2025, 2026 type contributors, at least big time.
On paper, Will, it appears Billy Napier had his most successful transfer portal this year of his tenure at Florida. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely clear. You start looking like the on-off numbers from places like Sports Info Solutions, and a lot of the defensive players, I think probably like 8 or 9 of the defensive players last year, the defense was actually worse when the starters were on the field. And so some of those weak spots have really been shored up by the transfers they brought in, particularly on the backside. Guys like Douglas and Turner and Bridges, I think, bring a lot, especially when you consider that a guy like Jordan Castell at the safety position really played well as a freshman, but now as a sophomore, you expect him to take a step up too. So being able to marry some of the needs with also bringing in guys who maybe aren't even stars, but just are able to not be below average, I think is one of the things they've really been able to do in the transfer portal and really set themselves up, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to be able to be much better than they were last year.
Will Miles, readandreaction.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Will, let's look at the offense first. You mentioned Graham Mertz, obviously DJ Lagway, but this is Mertz's barbecue, man. This is his team. Lagway will probably see some time in certain packages and whatnot, but they're going to go as far as Graham Mertz is going to take them. What are your thoughts on Mertz coming into the year?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it is that if you look at the stats last year, Mertz checked down too much, and that he struggled when the pocket was clean, and actually did really well when opposing defenses blitzed and got pressure on him. If he can improve how he plays when the pocket is clean, Florida's offense is going to be really, really good next year. Now, if you look back, now some of that has to do with pushing the ball down the field, and if you look back at his time at Wisconsin, the minute he tried to push the ball down the field, he started to really struggle. And so that's sort of a fundamental question to me for 2024 is his average depth of target last year was like 6.5 yards, and at Wisconsin it was around 10. And really, if you look at some of the elite quarterbacks, their average depth of target ends up somewhere between 8 and 12. And so as he starts pushing the ball down the field, are we going to see more mistakes? Are we going to see more of the Wisconsin Mertz? Or is he going to be able to strategically push the ball down the field? And Billy Napier's talks about that this offseason, that they need to push the ball down the field. And that, to me, is going to be the key for Mertz, and the key for this offense is going to be how can they get it down the field instead of having to check down. Now, some of that had to do with offensive line, but some of that was on Mertz. And he's going to have to be better when it comes to throwing the ball away and living to play another day, but also making sure he gets to the read that's deeper downfield and is able to take advantage of what the defense is giving him.
Ricky Pearsall gone, Trevor Etienne gone, now to Athens. Certainly there were some big losses. A guy like Caleb Douglas as well is no longer with the roster, but they have some acquisitions. You mentioned Badger. You mentioned some of the new guys that have come in. What's your thought on the skill position surrounding Mertz?
Man, I think they're going to have some freshmen step up, or at least some inexperienced guys step up. They got a little bit from guys like Arliss Boardingham and Hayden Hansen last year, but those guys are going to be the starters and going to be major contributors at the tight end position. They're going to have to get something significant out of a guy like Boardingham. Guys like Aiden Mizell and Andy Jean, who came in last year and certainly were definitely, we sort of thought all three might get an opportunity, and it turned out to be the Trey Wilson show. The question is going to be, can one of those guys relieve pressure on Badger and Wilson? And then a guy like Shamir Dike, who's the transfer from Wisconsin, has played with Mertz in the past. If they get 2022 production from DK, 2022 production from Badger, and if Mertz can take a step forward, this offense can be really dynamic. The one thing I think that people are overlooking a little bit is the two new tackles. So they brought in Crenshaw Dixon, and you're obviously going to have Austin Barber as well in the mix. And with those guys that they brought in, you would expect bringing Damian George to the inside, that the running game is going to get better. So one of Florida's issues last year was the running backs were getting hit really quickly, and a guy like Etienne was able to get away and hit a few big plays, but a guy like Montrell Johnson wasn't really able to play to his full potential because he was getting hit, an average of like 2 yards from the line of scrimmage, whereas the year before it was almost 3 yards before he got hit. So if the improvement on the offensive line can improve the running game, then that obviously opens up the passing game, gives the quarterback more time, and everything's sort of symbiotic. So I expect the offensive line to be better. I expect Mertz to push the ball down the field. I expect one of those wide receivers to step up in some capacity, but I don't expect you're just going to be throwing a screen pass out there and expecting the guy to take it 90 yards. They're still going to be pretty systematic. There's still going to be some people who sit there and say Billy Napier needs to be a little bit faster, that his offense plods along a little bit. But it's really going to come down to how do they perform in the red zone, because they're going to get down there quite a bit just because of being systematic and relatively risk averse. Are they going to be able to convert that into points? We'll see. I think a better offensive line and Montrell Johnson back there should be able to bring more success in the red zone.
A couple of more for Will Miles, readandreaction.com. And you're right, the offensive line, your offense is only as good as your offensive line. Florida's needs to be better. They also got to be better on defense, Will. There were times last year where that was a joke. Kentucky is a prime example. I go back to Baton Rouge. Now, look, I get it. With Malik Neighbors and with Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas, that was a lot of LSU talent. But the defense out there for Florida just looked lost last season. It was bad. They got to do better. Do you think they will be better in 2024?
So I think a lot of it's going to depend on the influence that Ron Roberts has coming in. So Roberts, when he was at Louisiana, had a very similar profile in terms of how often he blitzed, how often he played single high safety versus two deep safeties. And so he was very single high safety heavy and then very blitz happy when he was at Louisiana. When he went to Baylor, that completely flipped. And last year at Auburn, that trend kind of continued. And Austin Armstrong and even Patrick Toney 2 years ago both sort of have been running that Louisiana defense that just has not worked at Florida at all. And I suspect that Roberts is going to get them to dial it back a little bit, be a little bit more conservative, and rely on their guys to go out there and make tackles, but also give them a little bit of a safety blanket in case they miss. And, Armstrong had a reputation for being aggressive coming in. If you looked at the film at Southern Miss, there were times where he was playing cover zero, even when he had his opponent deep in their own territory. I don't know. I think you'll be able to tell pretty early on whether Roberts has been able to get him to dial it back. And I think Armstrong's a pretty good defensive coordinator. I just think he gets over aggressive. And given that Florida struggled tackling last year, that meant a lot of explosives. The explosives should come down if they're a little bit more conservative, and hopefully Ron Roberts can sort of lead the way and apply what he learned at Baylor, because it's amazing when you look at the shift. There was just a complete shift in philosophy. Now, was that Dave Aranda there at Baylor, or is that Ron Roberts? Some of what you see in Auburn last year suggests that Roberts learned some stuff, and we'll see if he transfers that on to Austin Armstrong.
As we wrap up, the big story of the offseason is not even so much the roster, Will, as it is the schedule. I mean, the schedule is just absolutely brutal. In fact, Scott Strickland talked about that earlier today, I believe, saying this season's not about the schedule, it's about the Gators. Well, that's nice and wonderful, but I mean, you're playing 8 or 9 teams that are going to be preseason top 25. I've followed Gator football. I'm 40 years old. I go back probably the first year of Spurrier in 90. I was 6 years old. This is as far back as I go. It's the hardest schedule on paper that I can remember Florida having. I mean, what's your thought on how they're going to navigate this thing?
I mean, I think the question is going to be, obviously, depth is going to be critical. So the fact that they brought in, that they had Triquez Bridges playing safety, and then you've got Castell and you've got Turner and you've got DJ Douglas, means you got a lot of depth there. But there are a few places where you don't have depth. So defensive end, defensive tackle, at the linebacker position especially. We saw what happened last year when Shamar James went down. So navigating the schedule, I think, is going to rely on them hopefully having injuries at spots where they have guys who can step up. Because in an SEC schedule, you're always going to have injuries. The question is, do you have injuries in a place where you've got reinforcements? Otherwise, a lot of the young guys are going to have to step up. And the question will be, is a guy like Miles Graham really ready to put in what's necessary for big-time SEC football? A lot of people have asked me that, what do I think the key game is this year? I actually think the key game is probably how do they respond after that Georgia game. I think most of us expect them to lose that game. But after a 5-game losing streak to end last year, you lose the game. If you end up losing the game to Georgia, now you got Texas and Ole Miss and Florida State. And, that schedule sort of on the back end is obviously very, very difficult. But I think some of those teams aren't going to be as good as we think they are. So then the question will be, has Florida sort of been able to – are they able to recover quick enough if they have a loss to a Georgia or to a Texas to be able to pull out one or two of those? Because I don't know that they need to go 4-1 in the last 5, but I think they can't go 1-4 or 0-5 and consider it a successful season. So how they navigate the down times when they come, because they are going to come this year, is going to tell a lot about the fortitude of the program, the culture that Napier's built, and whether that culture is strong enough to overcome some of the talent deficits that they're going to have over the course of the year.
Will, final question, then I want to get to the magazine and how people can get their hands on it. Billy Napier. I like Billy. I think Gator fans like Billy, and I'm going to use the term realistic. Amazingly, the ones that I know that are normally not realistic are being realistic about the Gators in 2024, which I think will help Billy to an extent. Is there a number that he needs to hit to be safe? I mean, is it a bowl game or problems? I mean, how do you see that this year?
I think when you look at college football, there are two things as a fan base that you always want. You either want championships or you want hope. And so to me, that's the thing. Is let's say Florida comes out of the gate and they're 1-3, and then DJ Lagway comes in and they end up 6-6, but Lagway's playing awesome. I think Napier gets more rope than he would if he went 7-5 and the team looked disorganized and they blew a couple of late leads. So I don't know that it's necessarily the actual record. I think in many ways it's how do they look. So the changes that they've made on special teams, the changes that they've made on defense, some of the changes they haven't made on offense, with Napier still being the offensive coordinator, how all of those things turn out, I think should be more important to fans than what the actual final record is. Now, look, you're not going to be able to go 3-9 and survive. That's just sort of the reality. But, if you told me 6-6 and we've seen really good play from DJ Lagway, I think I look at that and say that's a successful season heading into 2025, because the downside of the schedule is, yeah, it's really, really tough. The upside of the schedule is if you go 9-3, you're in the playoff. And so preparing the team to be ready for that 2025 run, I think, is what 2024 is about. And Lagway is a huge part of that. So to me, it's how do you sell hope? And the ways you sell hope are operational excellence, making sure special teams are running right, making sure the defense is starting to come around, seeing some of the young guys step into the roles that you envision for them. And then hopefully you pull out a few at the end and maybe you end up 7-5, 8-4. But, if you ended up 6-6 or even 5-7, but we saw that hope, I think people would be patient with Napier.
Will Miles, Read and Reaction. The Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine is available now. 70 pages of information all about Florida football. Will, where can people find the magazine and get their hands on it?
Yeah, so you can get it at two places. So readandreaction.com/MAG will take you to a link where you can buy either a digital version, so a PDF version, or we'll take you to our hard copy version. The hard copies are being sold on Amazon this year. So you can either go to that link, like I said, readandreaction.com/mag, or you can go directly to Amazon and just type in Read and Reaction Magazine. It'll pop right up. It's number one on new football releases right now over there on Amazon. So we appreciate everybody supporting us, but if you want to go pick it up over there, you can get it. It'll be in your hands in a couple of days.
It is absolutely spectacular, I tell you, every year. Will, great job. Really appreciate it. We'll talk again soon, my friend.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Bringing sports talk to the First Coast. This is 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and you know you've heard this before. Why is it so hot in this house? Well, summer's already here on the First Coast, and those soaring temperatures can do a number on our ACs. This is where the good folks at Fenwick Home Services have you covered. Fenwick offers same-day 24/7 service, and if you need a new AC because yours is on its last leg or already broken, Fenwick has next-day installation. That's right, next day, and can keep your family cool and comfortable all year long. Book online now at FenwickHomeservices.com. That's FenwickHomeservices.com, and stay cool and comfortable all year long.
Let's go! Join us this Saturday, June 8th at 7 o'clock in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena as your Sharks take on the Tulsa Oilers. Great seats are still available. Ask about our awesome family package. 4 tickets, 4 food or merchandise vouchers, and a $25 Al's Pizza gift card. Get yours today. Call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksonsharks.com. Shark Tank is having a luau. So break out your flip-flops and grass skirts and come join us. Check out the Polynesian dancers and learn the hula at Shark Fest, our pregame party. The first 1,000 fans will get a free lei. It's going to be a totally tubular night.
Jacksonville Sharks, Tulsa Oilers.
That's Saturday, June 8th, 7 o'clock. For tickets, call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksonsharks.com. That's 904-621-0700 or jacksharks.com. Let's go!
Let's go. Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
We could call them helmets and cleats, but they don't wear cleats.
Those shoes are hot.
Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
From the First Coast Lighting Studios at 1010XL.
Weekdays noon to 2.
You think you could join us? Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
Hey folks, it's Mike Dempsey for Pella Windows and Doors. Now you probably heard me mention that errant golf ball that led us to replace our windows. And obviously, if I'm investing in my home's appearance and comfort, I want the best. Well, now my new Pella windows are installed and they look fantastic. And we've already noticed a difference in outside noise reduction and energy savings. So if you need to replace your windows or doors, visit my friends at the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway or check them out online at PellaJacks.com. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Prosser here. As you may or may not know by now, I did the research and decided to go with Jack's Concrete Coatings for my garage floor. OMG, as the kids would say. I can't begin to tell you how good it looks, how happy we are. We brag on it anytime someone walks in the garage. They had the job finished in one day with a lifetime warranty. That's right. As the certified Pintech dealer for North Florida, the only company offering pure polyurea, I can't wait to do my patio deck next. Call 862-2000. That's the number, 862-2000, or jacksconcretecoatings.com.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
Your kids can learn from NFL Hall of Famer Leroy Butler's annual free Legends football and cheer camp. June 22nd at the Police Athletic League at Ed Austin Park. Register at jackspalsports.com.
Builders Care is looking for volunteers, and there are so many ways you can help. Find out how at builderscare.org.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
Caddyshack Ranch provides a safe, loving, and forever home to endangered big cats. Caddyshack on the north side of Jacksonville has helped lions, tigers, and endangered animals for 30 years. Learn how you can visit or help at caddyshackranch.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com. Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Rotator cuff tears are the most common overhead injuries I see. In order to avoid shoulder issues, make sure not to overload the front of the shoulder while also focusing on developing good scapular strength and maintaining flexibility in your lats. Proper hydration, nutrition, and supplementation are also crucial to joint and muscle health. Go Jag.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, the Major League Baseball season is rolling right along. Most teams about the 60-game mark already as we make that turn for almost the halfway point, which comes up here in a couple of weeks. The Tampa Bay Rays, they're hanging in there, just a couple of games under 500. The Atlanta Braves are still trying to get over the shock of losing arguably their 2 best players before the 60-game mark due to injury, and there's a lot of other interesting storylines all throughout Major League Baseball. With that, Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. He's certainly one of our go-to guys when it comes to MLB, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Stephen, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Hey, Stephen, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. You and I talked right about opening day, right around that time, and at that point, hope springs eternal, right? Every team thought that this was going to be their year. At the 60-game mark, Stephen, do we have a pretty good idea now who teams are? Is this enough of a sample size?
Yeah, I do think generally around this time, I know that the old adage is that nothing really means anything until Memorial Day in the baseball season, and there's there's a certain amount of truth to that because we are really discovering, I think, which teams are which. I don't think the Yankees are a fluke. I don't think the Braves' problems are something that can be hand-waved away. Like those injuries you mentioned are going to be a problem for the rest of the season. And there are some real teams taking off, like the Phillies, that I think you have to you can no longer say this is just the doing of a bad schedule. This is a really good ball club and someone that's going to give the Braves fits.
The Acuna injury was just horrible for Atlanta, and you combine that with the Strider injury as well. I mean, you feel horrible for Acuna. This is the second ACL and what is still a very young career for him. Now, the last time the Braves did very well, right? They won a World Series. But, man, how can they do that again? Just your thoughts on that whole situation in Atlanta.
Yeah, obviously it's awful. He hadn't played to the expectations that we to what we expected from him after what he did last year with such a spectacular MVP season, and was so good in like ways that people maybe won't notice as much, like his strikeout rate. He had more than cut in half his best career strikeout rate, and this year is right back at career average. So you're kind of thinking, all right, let's figure out who is 2024 Acuna, and right as we're trying to figure that out, and he's still a productive player, but just not MVP caliber so far this season. He gets injured up for the year, and obviously it does bring back memories of the World Series season. This is a very different. I mean, it's a different team in that the pieces themselves seem much more. It's almost like we know what to expect more from the rest of this roster, and I think more highly of this roster than I did of that one that was below 500 until the trade deadline. They made some minor moves and it all paid off, in some pretty incredible ways. But I still look at this roster and say, given how Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez have broken out, they've made up for Spencer Strider's absence. Of course, they'd be much better off if he was there as well. But the rotation is still in pretty good shape here. And then that lineup with the way Marcell Ozuna has hit so far this season, that's still a top, at least 7 of those hitters are not guys I want to face. The outfield is no longer as dangerous as it was with Acuna. When you have Kelenic in left field, who's getting a really large opportunity here with Atlanta, where he doesn't need to be, hitting fourth and a guy who is all-star caliber. But he so far has not shown the sort of Atlanta breakout that a lot of people in Seattle were fearing. Adam Duvall is obviously as good. They brought him back because he's very much needed at this point, and they continue to need more out of him and more slug, especially. And then Michael Harris has been a little bit roller coaster, but of course gives you a lot of different things offensively and defensively. So it's still a very good ball club, but the way the Phillies are going, it's looking like a wild card type year, and that's a scarier place to be.
Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic, covering Major League Baseball. You mentioned Philadelphia, Stephen. Philadelphia right now, at the time you and I are talking, 7 games clear of Atlanta, 14 games clear of everybody else in the NL East. I mean, is this a surprise? Did people expect Philly to be this good right now?
It's a surprise in that they weren't projected to be here, but it shouldn't be a surprise if we all consider what they've done in recent years, because it's an offseason in which they basically stood pat in that they brought back Aaron Nola, and that was essentially it. And no one ever likes when their team does that, right? No one likes when their team doesn't. You can just look at last season and say, well, you weren't good enough to get to the World Series. You're very close, but not quite good enough. You didn't win your division, and you really think just running it back is going to be your best path. And in this case, I think it really was. Look at the rotation they put together. It's not only Wheeler and Nola performing well, especially lately. It's Ranger Suarez pitching like one of the best pitchers in the majors so far. It's Christopher Sanchez who's giving them some really good starts, and Taijuan Walker's still trying to figure things out. But that's 4 really good starting pitchers, and they have a couple more options in the pen or at AAA that I think would do pretty well. And you look at that lineup, it's the same thing that we've seen, except healthy at this point, except for I guess I really shouldn't say that. Trey Turner is out, and Brandon Marsh as well. But the big guys, the Real Muto, Schwarber, Harper, the top of the lineup, minus Trey Turner, are clicking pretty well at this point. Real Muto, I think, still has another level we're going to see him return to. And then Alec Bohm, complete breakout. This is a guy who's being talked about in sort of the MVP odds. That's not a guy I would have had in the MVP conversation. But the way he's hitting, it sort of feels like the Bryson Stott breakout of last year. A guy who is like, okay, I thought he was a complimentary piece, and he's telling me he's a star. And so will he remain there? Not sure, because you're going to have starting regulars like Nick Castellanos have just a really, really rough first month and a half, and he could turn on now. So I think there are even players in that lineup who could be providing more with a Castellanos, with a Real Muto, with a Trey Turner once he's back. And I don't think this necessarily is the Phillies running on all cylinders, which is a pretty wild thought.
Final thought in the National League, Steven, before we head on over to the AL. The Dodgers spent $1 billion this offseason. Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, just to name a few. Your thoughts on them? The vibe I've gotten from people I've talked to is, yeah, they're good, but maybe they're not great like people expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're great. I just don't think they're historically great. I think when you put that sort of money into the ball club, people expect. I mean, there were jokes about people saying, lighthearted references to them becoming the winningest club of all time, right? Like they're headed for 120 wins this year. That just doesn't happen in this day and age. Injuries happen. When you look at their starting rotation, that was not a sure thing. Even if you add Yoshinobu Yamamoto, as they did in Tyler Glasnow in the offseason, Glasnow has yet to pitch a full season in the majors. He currently is healthy and pitching really, really well. But that's really not. That is not one of. You would not put them among one of the most reliable and dominant starting rotations in baseball. And so far, they've pitched pretty well, and have needed to figure some things out in the bullpen. But they have a 1-2-3 in the lineup that is something close to historic, and how good those three hitters are, especially two of them being lefties, will give right-handed pitchers fits. And the rest of the lineup, though, I mean, this is not a Dodgers back half of the lineup that is spooking a lot of teams. When you go from the top half we just talked about to Gavin Lux, Andy Pages, Jason Hayward, Miguel Rojas, you could toss in a Chris Taylor, Enrique Kike Hernandez. Like, this is not this is not a balanced lineup in any way, and so they're beatable, and they're not going to win everything. And really and truly, nothing matters until October for this team. They're seven games up on the Padres as we speak, 9 up on the Giants. No one's chasing them down from that group. I don't believe. The Diamondbacks have had a really rough start to the season. And so they are certainly good enough, and I think they have the capability and the pieces to be great come October if they're healthy.
A couple of more for Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic, covering Major League Baseball. Stephen, in the American League, the Tampa Bay Rays, they're hanging in there. I mean, look, the injuries last year, they had, 3 guys that had to have Tommy John surgery in their rotation, which is just unthinkable. And they're obviously being affected by that this year. But again, it could be a lot worse. They did not start out the season great. They're 29-31 right now. Your thoughts on the job Kevin Cash has done, and your thoughts on the Rays moving forward?
Yeah, it does just feel like this is a team that's having a lot of success and maybe good fortune in the past running the other way, going against them at this point. But I don't think it's too late for them. And this is a team that can float around 500 for a little while, and I still think go on a big run. It's going to take getting a lot closer to where the Orioles and Yankees are today, but I do think they have that in them. A lot of it depends, as you mentioned, on the starting rotation. Is Aaron Savale the guy they traded for, or is he the guy they've seen most of the time since he's been in Tampa? Is Taj Bradley going to break out at this point? Can Shane Baz come up and make a real impact? They've gotten pretty decent production from that rotation, but it's hard to survive when you have not only McClanahan and Rasmussen Springs out long term, but you have Eflin who's out at this point. It's really difficult to win in Major League Baseball without starting rotation. That is pretty shut down, and they have had to do it not only without that, but without Josh Lowe for long stretches of the season. He's just coming back, and pretty inconsistent performance from a couple of regulars in that lineup that we've really seen them come to rely upon in Randy Arozarena. Yandy Diaz had a really rough start to the season. So they're still a team I think they can put things together. They have speed, they have some power, they have contact, but it's difficult to do it without pitching, and so that needs to come first.
You mentioned the Yankees and the Orioles. Is that just going to be a slugfest between those two the entire year? They appear to be two of certainly the top 4 or 5 teams in baseball right now.
Yeah, it felt like this was the one year where we collectively said, okay, we're going to write off the Yankees a little bit. You come into the season without Garrett Cole. Come on. I mean, he is a Cy Young winner. They have just traded a bunch of starting pitchers to the Padres in the Juan Soto deal. Yes, they're going all in, but can they really win without pitching? And it turns out they've gotten not only adequate pitching, they've had tremendous pitching from the likes of Luis Hill, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball so far. Carlos Rodon looks like old Carlos Rodon. Stroman's been great. Nestor Cortez has been good as well, and they seem to be able to sort of create a bullpen that locks things down in the late innings. And the lineup is again a ferocious one with sort of a different version of Anthony Volpe they've had this year. He's got contact, he's got speed. They've got Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, which is as good of a 1-2 or 2-3 punch as you're going to see just about anywhere. And the complementary pieces at this point with the careers like Stanton and Rizzo, it's sort of you get what you get at this point. And Gleyber Torres, if you can get two of those three going, or even one of those three, it might be just enough to tip that lineup over into pretty efficient and potentially elite territory.
Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. Stephen, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the coverage on The Athletic and what you guys have coming up in the coming days and weeks.
Of course, yeah. You can find all my stuff at theathletic.com/MLB. I'm on Twitter /X at Stephen J. Nesbitt. And yeah, look out for what we have. I just put up a new power rankings this morning that I'm part of, and plenty of good stuff coming in the next few weeks as we turn the corner toward the All-Star game, and after that, the trade deadline, which is always interesting.
Stephen, really enjoyed the conversation. I know you're busy, man. Thank you as always. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
You bet. Thanks.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
And thank you to Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Yeah, Major League Baseball, hard to believe most teams are already past the 60-game mark already. We're getting near the halfway point. We're getting near the trade deadline. The All-Star break as well is on the horizon, so things are taking shape. And look, right now, the New York Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles are playing just absolutely outstanding. Can Atlanta respond after some bad injuries? They certainly are trailing Philadelphia there in the NL East. Tampa Bay is hanging in there, right? They're at the 500 mark in the American League East. It looks like a wild card at best for Tampa with the way the Yankees are playing and the way the Baltimore Orioles are playing. But we appreciate Stephen Nesbitt for joining us here on Hacker After Dark. My big takeaways of the evening here on Hacker After Dark. Well, there are a couple, and they're all Jaguar related. The offseason, by and large, is basically over, right? OTAs ended this week. Minicamp next week, although assuming a lot of veterans will not be here, as was the case a year ago. I think it's been a successful offseason. I do. I think the Jaguars did a good job. I think the roster is better than it was when the season ended there on January 7th in Nashville. Now, we'll obviously have to wait for results to come, but on paper, which is all we can go on, I give the Jaguars a thumbs up. Despite losing Calvin Ridley and despite some things that happened over the last couple of months, I think Trent Baalke and this staff put together a better, more competitive roster than they had a year ago, and we will see what happens once training camp, the preseason, and certainly the regular season come around in the coming weeks and months. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very, very busy Thursday night edition here of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Stephen Nesbitt, one of our guys when it comes to Major League Baseball from The Athletic. Appreciate Stephen's time tonight. Thank you to Will Miles, readandreaction.com. That is his website. The Florida Gator preseason Read and Reaction magazine is out. It is absolutely spectacular. I highly recommend it for Gator fans. 70 pages of Florida football information heading into the 2024 regular season. Our NFC East preview continued tonight. Bo Wolf, all Philly, allphly.com, joined us to look back on the Philadelphia Eagles offseason. Clearly the Eagles appear to be the favorite in that division heading into 2024. So thank you to Bo Wolf tonight. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Leon Searcy. Always appreciate Leon joining us. He's got his golf tournament next Friday at Queens Harbor, and appreciate Leon joining us. Of course, I'll get to see a lot more of him in the coming months as well, as we will be on the 5th quarter together on Sunday afternoons following Jaguar games, and I'll have Leon on every week here on Hacker After Dark once the regular season kicks off. We will be back tomorrow night on a Friday, and we will close out the week here on Hacker After Dark beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely tremendous remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will do it all over again to close out the week tomorrow night on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Get in here! I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. Okay? You can't roll with the big dogs. Stay